Are you a zombie investor? This is another one from Bank on Yourself. It's kind of funny. They're talking about you being a zombie investor. Listen to this. Officially, neither the US government nor the retirement planning industry keeps count of how many American employees entrust others to decide for them how and where to invest their hard earned money. Nevertheless, there is evidence that the number of these so called zombie investors who shuffle forward without using their brains may already exceed 15 million individuals and is on a sharp turn in an upwards trajectory. Now, this march is being fueled by a Greek chorus of government regulators, Wall Street executives, financial planners, and media commentators who regularly express their opinion that only by delegating the task of retirement investment to others can individuals assure the optimal long-term preservation and appreciation of their nest eggs. Effective management of a retirement portfolio can be a challenging task requiring significant knowledge and commitment of time. That's a direct quote from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Thus, the SEC and the Department of Labor have instructed employers to offer their workers a variety of defined contribution retirement plans, most commonly 401ks, which are, and I quote, designed to make it easier for investors to avoid the headaches and inherent risk of managing their own retirement monies. Easier? Definitely. Smarter? Not at all. Less risky? Hell no. Such full faith reliance on administrators and fund managers is propagating gargantuan portfolio losses that could billow to hundreds of billions of dollars during the lifetime of the current generation of U.S. workers. I talk to so many people that already tell me they do not believe there's going to be any Social Security by the time they retire. What these workers have yet to comprehend is that many of the personal retirement accounts that they are paying into annually at work will, regardless of how the market performs over the coming decades, stealthily bleed each employee of tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars that could remain theirs in their own accounts if they were just educated a little bit about this topic. So they call this the $64,000 question. Here's why. Consider the financial fate of an unaware 30-year-old worker who has regulated the choice of which investments should be selected for his or her present-day 401k plan balance of $25,000, simply by allowing that plan administrator to choose which fund and annual fees of, let's say, 1.5% rather than 0.5%, a mere 100 base points difference. The employee stands to forfeit $64,000 or more in realized savings by age 65. In fact, the $64,000 bite is a very conservative projection because it assumes the employee never contributes another dime to the 401k and also assumes the initial 401k does not suffer a significant loss of principal, such as the pruning of virtually all 401ks as they experienced in 2008, 2009 during the big crash. If that same 30-year-old employee continues to add funds decade after decade until retirement, a fairly typical scenario, then the choice to assign the selection of a 401k plan investment to his or her employer might easily deprive that 65-year-old retiree of $500,000 or more in late life savings. Now, the 15 million or so who have already unthinkingly given over their selection and responsibilities for their entire retirement portfolio to others have likely little or no clear knowledge of whose hands they have invited into their wallets and how dexterous these trustees are. Those making the decisions of where an employee's money should be funneled could be well qualified and specially trained financial planners, or because there are no prescribed standards for who is permitted to make these judgments, employees may be entrusting the most important financial decision of their lifetime to their boss's idiot brother-in-law. Now, let me ask you this. Does this process and associated losses snowballing into hundreds of billions of dollars seem scandalous? Does it seem like the government should maybe step in and act? Well, guess what? They have. In 2006, as part of the Pension Protection Act, Congress did approve legislation that shields companies and their 401k administrators, including their employer's idiot brother-in-law, from liability should some of these millions of zombie investors one day awaken and realize just how efficient their financial flesh has been ripped from them and consumed. Despite the ghoulish financial consequences, most zombie investors don't realize and may never realize just how lavishly their passivity is priced. They call it set it and forget it or invest it and forget it. Let me continue. Government and industry statistics reveal that about 50 million Americans participate in employer-sponsored defined contribution retirement plans. On the face of it, 401ks have it all: matching employer contributions, tax deferment, professional administration, and fund management. In other words, invest it and forget it. Why wrestle with the erroneous, time-consuming, risk-prone task of managing one's own retirement financial planning when it is possible to simply push a button called autopilot? And then what? You check back in 2 or 3 decades to see how much you have. The 401k industry has made the process such a no-brainer that employees need not bother to even select the type of 401k fund where their money will be invested. Instead, increasingly, employees are automatically enrolled in one of 3 types of funds, technically dubbed QDIA, or Qualified Default Investment Alternative, that the Department of Labor deems suitable for capital preservation and or long-term capital appreciation. According to Towers Watson, a global risk and financial management consultancy, 90% of all new hires and 80% of those doing a re-enrollment of investment elections let their 401k plan administrator choose for them where their money will be staked away. Of those who opt for the no-brainer or the zombie method, roughly 70% end up invested in what's called target date funds or TDFs, the most popular by far of all these QDIA types. Let me tell you about these target date funds real quick. Since their inception in 1993, target date funds have grown exponentially and actually now account for about $270 billion, or roughly 10% of all 401k assets. The funds attracted $43 billion in net cash flow in 2009 alone, and by some estates, the funds attracted $43 billion in net cash flow in 2009 alone, and if I'm not mistaken, reached over $1 trillion around 2014. Imagine what that is today. Individual investors and 401k plan administrators alike are drawn to the theoretical simplicity of target date funds. Here's the concept. You select the year of when you're going to retire, let's say that's 2025, then you match it to a fund that's designed to grow increasingly conservative as the fund approaches its calendar year. Now, if the TDF works according to plan, their fund managers invest in stocks, bonds, cash, and cash equivalent in proportions that are rebalanced over time in order to preserve invested capital and gains as the funds approach and pass the target date. So a young employee's TDF with a target date of 30 to 40 years out would start off disproportionately favoring stocks, for example, then 5 or 10 years before retirement reallocate the mix of holdings more heavily towards credit-worthy bonds or cash equivalents. But contrary to their billing, TDFs proved highly unreliable in 2008 when funds with a fast approaching target date of 2010 suffered losses averaging almost 25%. At least 1 in 31 theoretically safe 2010 target date funds plunged 41%. So imagine if you were, let's say, 60 years old and you're about to retire in 5 years and you just lost 41%, or some lost half. You lost half of everything in your account. You don't have time to gain that back before you retire. The fact that TDFs failed to prevent portfolios of expectant retirees from evaporating so rapidly caused the SEC, the Department of Labor, and Congress to make quite a fuss, holding hearings and ultimately proposing some new SEC rules aimed at providing investors a better understanding of the risk associated with target date funds. As a matter of fact, Congress and the regulators have yet to propose modifying the rules that permit anyone whatsoever to serve as an employer's 401k plan fiduciary. And astonishingly, no government body has new rules aimed at capping the wide range fees charged by administrators and fund managers. Here's a list of the fees, just for fun. Let's say you had $100,000 in a 401k for 35 years, and let's pretend it's only averaging 4.1. We know that thanks to Forbes and Investopedia. 20-year average 401k is only 4.1%. But just for fun, let's say it was getting 7%. 100,000, 35 years at 7%. You'd have a little over $1 million. Look at this. So you'd have a little over $1 million, but because of the compounding interest on that 1% fee over time, that 1% actually equates out to 28.8% of your nest egg that they have taken in fees to manage your account. Do you know how much you're paying in fees? You need to ask. It even says on the website here that the most risk-laden aspect of target date funds and all 401k funds are fees. Now you watch. I've had tons of people on my other TikToks and Insta, Twerk, Facegram, BookX, all that stuff where they come back and they attack me and say, oh, the fees are minimal. Yeah, I can't believe you're talking about these fees. I said massive fees once and I got jumped on by every financial planner who has no freaking clue what they're doing out there. Look, I can go on and on all day and we can talk about this, Go read the article. It's on bankonyourself.com. But the answer for all these zombie investors out there and those who want to avoid designation is not to assume the sole responsibility of their retirement savings, but to assume at least some responsibility. You need to know where your money is going. You need to know what you're investing in. Redemption lies in knowing as much detail as possible what retirement plan options are available to you and what the fees are. And before making your own choice, employees should really investigate alternatives to 401ks. I like to play the retirement game. Option A or option B? You choose at home. Ready? Option A, do you want the ability to lose money when the market crashes, or do you want a guarantee that says you'll never lose money? Now, if you're smart, you picked option B, right? Option A, do you want to earn an average of around 4%? Or option B, do you want to earn, let's say, double that? Let's just say 8%, maybe 10% or 12%. Option A, do you want to pay penalties every time you need to touch your money before age 59 and a half? Or option B, do you want the ability to touch your money at any age for any reason, penalty free? Here's a big one. Option A, do you want to pay taxes? Option B, no taxes. Option A, do you want to pay someone a massive fee to manage your account? Or option B, would you rather pay zero fees to manage your funds? Now, on top of that, option B also comes with living and legacy benefits. So if you were to sign up today and die tomorrow, and let's say somebody gets a $500,000 or $1 million death benefit that's built into the policy. Over here, there's no options for legacy or living benefits. You don't get critical, chronic, terminal illness, cancer, heart attack, stroke, long-term care. All the things that are built into most plans in option B are not even included, nor are they an option in plan A. Plan A is some type of an IRA. I know you think that your vehicle that you're investing in is called a 401k. It's not, it's an IRA. 401k is merely the tax code. 401k, you have a 403b, you have a 457, you have a TSP. Technically, even Ted Bennis said a pension is still a form of an IRA. You still have the same risk and fees. If you'd like more information about retirement in general or just have questions, feel free to shoot me a message or visit my website. There's the link. My email's on there. There's a contact form. You can even click on my calendar and book a call. I hope to hear from you soon. I'm happy to help.